All right, folks, welcome to a special edition of the Fourth and Long podcast. My name is Justin. You all know that. This is Jake. What's up, Jake?
What's up, Justin?
Haven't seen each other in a while. I've been busy,
Yeah.
but we decided to get at least the national championship preview in here today. So it's gonna be a little. We're gonna go over the Heisman a little bit, and then we'll get into the national championship. But first, we're gonna start with some news and notes, like always. These are from this week, so I don't know. They might be old news, but this is what I got. So one of the first notes is that Ryan Day said Ohio State is on track to play a national title game. They did fly out for the national title game, so they aren't going to move it. I don't know about you, Jake. But for a while there, I actually thought they were going to move it.
Yeah, it was very. That's what everyone was saying was, well, they're going to move it because they want everyone to be able to play. They want it to be a competitive game. And to be honest, I know a lot of people were saying that Ohio State was saying they had COVID problems so that Justin Fields had an extra time to rest,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, come on now. Like, we understand that he's hurt, but
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw it, but Saban's daughter went on Twitter
Yes,
and
I saw the tweet. I was gonna bring it
like
up.
Saban probably gave her a timeout for like 2 days. She couldn't come out
Yeah.
of her room or something. But yeah. So I do. I mean, the Ohio State's been dealing with COVID issues, but it really isn't. I mean, it is pretty bad. But I mean, they had pretty much all their playmakers back for the versus Clemson's, and I think they're gonna have everyone back for this
Yeah.
one. So, but yeah, I think it was just to get hopefully. I mean, if they could have got it moved to Tuesday, that's just another day for Justin Fields to sit
Yeah.
around and rest. So,
Yeah.
I totally think that they were. I do think that they were affected by COVID, but I definitely think there was a part of it that was like we could use a couple extra days for Justin Fields' ribs to
Mhm.
not be killed.
Yeah.
So next topic, Penn State has hired former Texas offensive coordinator Mike Yurcich to the same title at Penn State. I kind of put can James Franklin feel the heat underneath him? Um, I'll get into it next, but I wasn't surprised James Franklin didn't get fired. I mean, in one bad season and a weird year, but
Yeah.
definitely I think he's still on the hot seat going into next year. But yeah, I mean I guess Texas's offense has been okay for a while, but they had Sam Ellinger, and he was like he did 4 years in that system, so it
Yeah.
was a lot easier for him. So, any thoughts on that one?
I mean, it's very surprising. I think the biggest surprise, in my opinion, was that Michigan extended Harbaugh
Oh my God.
5 years for 20 mil. I was sitting here when the news came out, and I was like, "What are you doing? Why?" So I guess the only stipulation of the new contract, it is bigger, and it's 4 years, almost 5 mil a year, or 5 years, almost 4 mil a year. And the buyout is a lot lower than it was before. So I think that, but at the same time, why are you extending a coach more than 2 years if he hasn't done anything for your program?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
we don't know what's going to happen next year, but I can't. I mean, I can't tell you that Michigan. I think Michigan's going to be within closing distance of Ohio State or the rest of the Big Ten. So,
yeah,
yeah, but his new deal is also, I guess, incredibly incentive laced.
yeah,
So, like, if he wins the Big Ten or national championship, it's like bigger money. But still, yeah, I mean, I read an article. I don't know what it was on, but it was like there was really no other way to go about this than just extend him because basically, like we've talked about all year, Michigan's not going to get anyone better. And I mean, he's done nothing for. I mean, you might as well just give him a year or two more because I mean, yes, you let this year kind of be like a pass because it was
yeah.
messed up and weird. But I mean, I got to think next year if they're struggling again, I mean, you got to let him go at some point.
Hmm.
It's just been a failed experiment.
Yeah.
So
I also think the second biggest news, I know it's kind of college football related, is it looks like what's his name? Urban Meyer will be coming out of retirement to be the new coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars because he's going around his old college ranks, old assistant coaches, and
yeah,
putting together a coaching staff. So
yeah, he's been
I think
putting.
that I think that has kind of big implications for the draft, especially if I think he'll be more favored to go with, especially because he'll start a new offensive system. He'll go with someone that might be familiar with the scheme, and I think that could be Justin Fields.
Oh, I don't know about that. It's still definitely going to be Lawrence, but
I
yeah,
think so too, but I think it throws in a little bit of a curveball, maybe.
yeah, it does a little bit, I guess. But I mean, if you're in my mind of thinking right now, if you're to tell me right now that Urban Meyer in 4 or 5 months is going to take Justin Fields with the #1 overall pick, right now I'm going to tell you I'd be shocked out of my mind if that happened.
Yeah.
But
No, I would too, but I mean, I still think it's a
yeah, I mean,
possibility. If you rather have a quarterback day one that understands most of your system, can execute it properly, then that's Justin Fields, and that skips the year of having to teach Trevor Lawrence. Even though I think Trevor Lawrence is more talented, has partially better vision of the field, and can identify defenses. I think that ability to skip 1 or 2 years of actually teaching a system is what Urban Meyer might want to do to jumpstart his NFL success.
I mean, that'd be crazy, and I wouldn't mind it. But I mean, the Jets fans. If I was a Jets fan and you told me that right now, I'd be like foaming at the mouth, so happy. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did see that he was going around setting up coaching staff. If you look at the Jaguars' job, I mean, and you look at all the other jobs around the NFL, I guess the Chargers is okay because you have a Herbert. But the Jaguars, I mean, you're coming in with a very young team. They drafted a cornerback first last year, and then the year before that they have Josh Allen, he's been good-ish. But it's a young team, and you can basically, like you said, he's picking his coaching staff, and he's going to have his pick of quarterback at first pick. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that he's going to jump into the NFL because I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to work in the NFL. But I would love to see him succeed. I mean, but because I feel like he was just heavily on a lot of recruiting and things like that, and that's just not how. And I also don't understand how if he retired at Ohio State because he has health issues. I mean, those are only going to get worse in the NFL. I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Yeah,
Like,
that's very true.
I mean, you're going to get paid like 8-9 mil a year, double what you made at Ohio State. So you better be kind of ready for the scrutiny that's going to come your way.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this. I don't think we did. We might have. Sarkisian's in at Texas. What's his face? Herman's out. It's even weirder because Sarkisian's still going to coach in the game on Monday. I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's a little weird. It's a little weird. But I think it's a decent hire for Texas. I think they would have. I think they probably are like jumping up and down, so happy they got Sarkisian because I don't think they were going to go out and be able to get much better than him, anyways.
No, I think you're completely right. But at the same time, it's like, Sarkisian is an OC, and the track record of Alabama offensive coordinators that have gone to another team haven't been great.
No.
I'm more, Sarkisian could break the trend, but we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of, again, you're completely right. That was the best option for them, and they were able to get him. So we'll have to wait and see for next year.
Yeah, it's just a lot of Alabama offensive coordinators that go like other places. I mean, I don't know if they don't understand it or they're not used to it or they can't adapt to it. But I mean, at Alabama, when you're calling plays, I mean, this year's a prime example. I mean, you're throwing to 3 top 10 picks in the NFL, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, not top 10 picks this year, but I mean, you're throwing to 3 first-round picks, or you're running it with another first-round pick. Like and hopefully, I know we had issues at USC and Washington with alcohol, so hopefully that's all behind him. It's basically Alabama is like it's like rehab for coaches, like because what's his face went there. Who was the coach at Baylor? Oh, Art Briles went there for a year, and then Mike, the old Bengals coach, went down there for a year too. So he just takes in old coaches and just like repurposes them. But yeah, it's interesting. And I know we had talked about it kind of before too, but I mean, you have to temper your expectations if you're a Texas fan. Like he doesn't have his guys in yet. And he probably never will get his guys, the guys that Alabama gets, but so expecting a New Year's Six Bowl next year is not really. I mean, it's just not out of the question. But I mean, Oklahoma's going to be good. Oklahoma State will probably be good again next year. So it's an interesting one. But we'll head to the next news and we'll get down to the game.
Also, I think news that is coming out now is that Jalen Waddle is he's questionable for the game.
Right.
Saban just said in his last press conference, but he looks like he probably will be playing in the game.
It's going to be very interesting to see how much they're able to use him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can fit flawlessly into that offense, I mean, I have only still really have like 30% of me thinks Ohio State can win. I mean, if you add Waddle and he like just seamlessly fits in, I mean, that offense can't be stopped.
No.
And their defense is good enough where they can get a stop or two if it really comes down to it. So, yeah, I mean, I remember leading up to the semifinal game versus Notre Dame, there were questions. Like, I guess Notre Dame was prepping for Waddle. So, get this sun out of my face, Jesus. But yeah, so that's huge for them if they get him back. I mean, I guess it's not huge, but it's just another piece of the puzzle that makes Alabama that much tougher to beat. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
With that, we'll let's go over this real quickly. Basically, the Heisman finally got it right in the past couple of years, and they gave it to Devonta Smith. I mean, like we talked about, he has over half of Mac Jones's receiving yards and half his passing yards, and his touchdowns. So, I mean, he was really the best player on that team. I was surprised Trevor Lawrence came in second. I think Mac Jones and Kyle Trask had better years than him. But I think there was a bunch of guys in there that, like, I know I kind of said it like kind of about Tua, how he never won. They voted for Trevor Lawrence because they were like, this is a career award. He's won national championship and like things like that.
My biggest shock was he didn't even win the best quarterback in the nation. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Mac Jones won it,
which is crazy, but
yeah, it's just weird. I mean, going back to Heisman, I think it's good that they that was the right choice. And in the way, I mean, we always talk about it. Like, what have you done for me lately? I mean, his last 2 games, he's been insane. Even before even before the semifinal, he's been insane. So, I don't think anyone in the country has a corner that can stop him, except for Alabama, maybe, and Patrick Surtain II could stop him, but I don't know. And then I have next year's odds. Spencer Rattler is plus 400. Bryce Young, who still has not stepped on a football field, is plus 600. JT Daniels is plus 1,000. Sam Howell is plus 1,000. DJ Ugalele is plus 1,000. De'Aaron King is plus 1,400. And Keaton Slovis is plus 2,000. And then kind of quickly, I'll just have you kind of comment on this. Like, where does Clemson go from here? Like, I mean, obviously DJ, but I mean, this is a complete transition from like, it's almost like when Tua left Alabama, it's a complete transition. Luckily, it went flawlessly for Alabama this year. But I mean, they in Clemson, they probably don't know what football is like without Trevor Lawrence. So,
I think we're going to definitely see a scheme that goes towards more a Deshaun Watson / Cam Newton type offense. I don't know if you saw, but Bleacher Report just ranked their Heisman winners over the last 10 years, and Cam Newton was second behind Joe Burrow's year. And if you just remember, I don't know if you probably remember it better than I do, but that year that Cam Newton in Auburn went all the way, it was just insane because he couldn't be stopped. It was like he'd run the ball or Deshaun Watson against Alabama. It was just. And DJ has the size for that. He can be mobile, but he's not as mobile. But he has that strong arm.
He's a big body too.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I think he's like 6'5" at like 230.
Yeah, he's a big dude. So
yeah, I think that would definitely help them and benefit them. I know they'll probably lose Travis Etienne and a couple other big wide receivers, but
Amari Rogers is gone. Travis Etienne is gone. So yeah, like I said.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
so I think it will be interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to be as smooth a transition as it was for Alabama, but it could be somewhat of a good transition because he is familiar with the system. And you never know, he could exceed expectations given that, he played really well in those two games, didn't have a lot of prep for those two games, and then had a full year on top of that. I can't even imagine. I think Clemson fans need to be wary, but not as wary as if you were saying it was someone completely new that they didn't even know about, like a transfer quarterback, like from Oklahoma
Yeah,
or
I
something
mean,
like that.
we'll get into it when we get our top five for next year. But even if Alabama wins on Monday, I don't think they come into next year ranked first. I don't think Clemson
No,
comes in ranked in the top. I mean, it's going to be Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama somewhere in the top 5 or 6. But
yeah,
I don't think you can look at Alabama and see how good they were with Najee Harris, Mac Jones, and Devonta Smith, and they're losing all three of those guys. And I don't know how you can look at them and be like they're just going to be as dominant. Like, no,
yeah,
I mean, they do have good recruits coming in. Like they have three 5 or 2 5 stars, 1 4-star receivers coming in. But I mean, Devonta Smith just won the Heisman. Losing him is gonna. I mean, it's gonna
it's
leave.
still going to be a big impact.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, they did it right. And then, so I mean, I know I said Clemson too, but I guess it's also the same thing for Alabama too. I mean, they're coming in without the third national championship. So, or their I don't know what I'm talking about, but you get it. So
I
there we
get
go.
what you're saying.
Yeah, but so we are going to get into the game real quick. We got about probably 5-10 minutes left, and then we'll get into the game. So I kind of posted some stuff in the outline. I don't know if you have it up or not, but uh, they're both ranked pretty high. They both score over 40 a game.
Yeah.
Ohio State gives up 22. Alabama only gives up 19.
Hmm.
Ohio State actually averages more yards per game, but that's because they run it more and they have like a triumvirate of running backs. They Ohio State passed for about 275, Alabama 350. Obviously, then Ohio State outgains them in yards. But I mean, the real thing that you need to look at here is, I mean, why this year is so weird and how much college football's changed. I mean, both these teams have over 500 or over 350 yards allowed per game, which was
Yeah.
like unheard of. Like if you would have seen an Alabama team like 5-6 years ago that
Yeah.
was giving up 350 yards a game, I mean, they would have been horrible. They wouldn't have been ranked. I mean, but that just shows you kind of how much college football's changed. It's just like the two best offenses are going to go at
Yeah.
it. So
I think another big thing is all their leaders for passing, rushing, and receiving. Alabama has a 4,000-yard passer, a 1,300-yard rusher, and a 1,600-yard receiving leader. Where the only person over 1,000 yards is Justin Fields, and he almost has 2,000 passing yards. That is, for a team to make it this far, I think is another attribute to what you just said, that it's crazy how much college football has changed.
yeah, I mean, we'll probably talk about it sometime in the off season or next week or something. But I think that Justin Fields' performance versus Clemson was one of the greatest performances in a big stage that I've ever seen. It didn't remind me, but it was almost like Vince Young in the national championship, or kind of like Cam Newton versus Alabama when they
Yeah.
came back and won. But I mean, if his ribs really were hurt, and I think they were, I mean, that has to hurt so bad just to even cock your arm back to throw. So good for him. But so I mean, there's really not much to go over. I mean, we've been covering both these teams pretty heavily for now.
Yeah.
Almost 3-4 months. So I guess I'll just kind of get right into it. What type of game are you expecting, and then give me the final score.
I've been debating this all since we found out. It's been really, I think OSU, I think Alabama's going to underestimate OSU and be like, we've been here, we're going to let ourselves kind of dictate this game, and that Ohio State's not going to let that happen. They're going to be like, you know what, we're going to run the ball down your throat. And to be honest, I can see this turning into an Ezekiel Elliott type year for Trey Sermon. I mean, the guy's been electric the last couple games, and with a player like that, you're just going to keep feeding him, especially when your star quarterback is going in with a potential very risky injury.
Yeah.
And, those ribs, if he gets hit once off of say if he takes the ball, scrambles a little bit, slides improperly, and then just, the jolt of the slide kind of hit, dislodges something, then it's basically over for them. I can't see their backup being, I know they have a probably 4 or 5 star backup, but at
Yeah.
the same time,
Absolutely.
it's no Justin Fields.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. He's gonna look so fat on TV tomorrow night. His
Yeah, with
his
the rim
his
protector.
yeah his cute UB jacket's gonna be like, I mean that's why Baker Mayfield looks fat all the time is because he has like 3 layers of QB flak jackets on. But so you think it's gonna be a close game? High
I think
scoring,
it's going to be
obviously.
I think it's going to be a close game most of the game, and then towards the end you'll see the run like Ezekiel Elliott had, that breakaway run. And to be honest, I think it turned I forget the exact score, but I'm going to say it's going to be Ohio State 42-34. I think it's going to be close, and it's going to be a one-score game going into the fourth.
Okay, so
Because
I was go ahead.
because I feel like Jalen Waddle, as we have said, is a high risk, especially with that ankle. One bad plant, one bad tackle, and he's again not
Yeah,
just done for the game, but he could have
he's
ruined his
done for
career.
next.
Yeah, and then Ohio State's best corner is going to go on Devontae Smith, and I don't think you can contain him that much, but I think you can get under his skin to the point of you're going to frustrate him a little bit and hold him to regular crazy numbers, not like 300 receiving yards on like 10
Yeah,
passes, receptions, and 4 touchdowns. And then I think OSU's defense is good enough to stop Najee Harris.
yeah.
I
I
think
think
they're big enough. I think their bodies are big enough, so their front seven, their front four will at least be able to stop the offensive line from climbing to the second level, and then their backers are good enough to converge on the ball and contain him within a short space.
yeah. I hear what you're saying. I really want Ohio State to win. I don't know if you I put out an article this week, but the 2 most important players for Ohio State this weekend or on Monday are going to be uh, Haskell Garrett and Tommy Togiai because either they have the ability to control the run game and they have the ability to control the pass game against
Yeah.
Alabama. So those guys are pretty important. They've had good years. I really want to see Ohio State win. I'm just kind of I'm actually happy because it's not Alabama versus Clemson again. Like that
Yeah.
was going to get old forever. So I mean, it's going to be a late 2 nights for me. I got my brownies tonight and then tomorrow night. But yeah, I think this game goes one of 2 ways. I think it's over at halftime and Alabama wins, or I think it's a little bit more low scoring than expected, and Ohio State wins in the end, 38-34. So that's I know the spread. Oh, I don't know the spread. I was looking at the Brown spread. I wonder what the spread is. Um, but yeah, I like them to win 38-34. I think the offensive MVP is obviously Justin Fields.
Mhm.
I guess or Trey Sermon. You never know because it's funny you brought up Ezekiel Elliott because I just saw, I don't know if it was Bleacher Report or something, but somebody had an article was like Trey Sermon is doing exactly what Ezekiel Elliott did at the end of 2015.
Exactly. So, um, I think Alabama. So what I found on CBS Sports is that the latest odds have Alabama at -8.5.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's more than a
Yeah.
touchdown. But then
I mean,
again,
I think I would definitely take it no matter who wins. It's going to be. I would take Ohio State +8.5.
yeah,
I
if
just think it's going to be
if
a
I
lot closer.
was, yeah, go ahead.
I think it's going to be a lot closer than 8 points. I could see it being a 3 point, even a 7 point game, rather than 8. So
See, I have a weird thing. Like, I think if Alabama wins, it's going to be a blowout. But if Ohio State like keeps it close, it's like I said, it's going to be a 38-34 low scoring game. So I almost skip the spread and I just go money line on Ohio State. There's a lot more value in that because if you really think Ohio State's going to win, Yeah, but I don't know. That's more value in that, but whatever.
Yep.
That's just my idiotic speaking, considering I
No
just
worries.
put down the Browns bet today, so that's awesome. Um, but yeah, so that's pretty much all we have today.
Well, do you
Like I
want to
said,
go over the edges first? I think that's important to go over.
oh yeah, go ahead, or you go ahead and start.
Um, so who has the edge? Fields versus Jones. In my opinion, I think Fields definitely has the edge. I don't. I hated the talk of Mac Jones as a Heisman Trophy candidate and a heavy favorite. He's just not. If he was like Tua, I think Tua is going to be one of the better QBs to come out of Alabama and not win the Heisman. I think he's the only one that was ever close to actually having an argument for it. I know Mac Jones' numbers were crazy this year, but again, he had Jalen Waddle for the first half and then Devontae Smith, who ended up winning the Heisman the second half. I mean, you just can't. I don't see how you're able to make an argument when your receiver is 10 yards separation from a corner.
Yeah.
It's not hard to make that throw. I know you probably could have made those throws most of the time.
Yeah. So then I'll go to the edge in the running game. Usually, I would say this is a pretty big advantage for Alabama, but the way Trey Sermon's been playing lately has been crazy. I still think that the Alabama has a little more edge in the rushing game, but it's definitely a lot closer than I expected. Especially hopefully because I mean Sermon's been awesome, but it's also good to have another back in there to give you a breather or something. So Master Teague, I believe, should be back on Monday.
Mhm.
As long as he can hold on to the football, give us 10 carries, that'd be huge. But yeah, it's definitely a lot closer. Like I think Najee Harris is probably a lot better than Trey Sermon, but in their offenses, how they're played, it's a lot closer. And the way Sermon's been playing has been awesome. I mean, he's moved himself up 3 or 4 rounds in the
Yeah,
NFL draft.
yeah.
So if you want to take over, I guess I'll start with the receivers. It's really Devonta Smith. Who do you like better, Devonta Smith or Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson? Uh,
Um,
so
I I mean, I love the story of Chris Olave and I love what Garrett Wilson has done for Ohio State this year. But I mean, Devontae Smith had an outstanding year, especially taking over for Jalen Waddle, who was the star. No one was really talking. Everyone said, "Oh, Devontae Smith is still a really talented wide receiver," but Jalen Waddle, that guy is just built different. And Smith really stepped into the role and actually exceeded expectations, in my opinion.
oh
I know a
yeah,
lot of people were just like, "Oh, let's see if he can actually fill the role." I mean, we were even talking about it when Jalen Waddle got hurt. We're like, "Wow, can Smith really step into these big shoes and fill them?" And I think he's grown out of them, in my opinion,
yeah.
and exceeded them.
He'll get picked
So
before.
as much as I love Ohio State and love Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, I just think Smith is just a whole different
And
breed.
it's weird because like if Devonta Smith is by far the best Alabama player and receiver, but there are guys behind like Michi and those guys behind him. They're not that bad. So you
No.
can't just put two. You can't just put Sean Wade on him and then have Proctor or um um, Hooker just over top of him all game. It's not going to work. I mean, so yeah, I definitely give the edge to Devonta Smith. I think the only way to slow him down is you just limit the big plays. I mean, I know it's going to be frustrating to watch, but I think they'll give him a decent buffer. Um, but I mean, he's going to have 7 to 10 catches no matter what. So,
Yeah.
um, I guess my theory is that just let someone else beat you but him. I mean, and considering people always forget that Devonta Smith started his career as a national champion by catching the Tua
The two of them
Tagovailoa's touchdown pass in the national championship
against
game to win
Georgia.
the game.
Yeah.
That's how he started his career. So, yeah, I definitely give the edge to them. And like I said, he's going to have 7 to 10 catches. Just keep him under. Then if you can keep Devonta Smith under 110 yards and only one touchdown, that's a huge win for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then defensively, which is like kind of where we were talking 5, 6 years ago, you'd be like, all right, yeah, this is the real grit now. But no, I mean, they're both I mean, they just give up points. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you have anything to say about defense. Go ahead.
I think the defensive line for strength and being able to get penetration, it definitely goes. The advantage goes to Alabama's D line. However, I think with Ohio State's line this year, they're a lot more flexible and a lot better at keeping the offensive linemen from climbing to the second level. And in my opinion, I think the linebackers for OSU can compete with high level linebackers such as the ones out of Alabama and have a lot better side to side speed and sideline capability than the ones out of Alabama. I mean, Dylan Moses coming into this year has really kind of underperformed. He
Yeah.
hasn't had the breakout year everyone thought he was going to have, being the first year that he was able to command that defense, and it kind of shows. So I think OSU definitely has an advantage at the linebacker level. I don't think so on the D line. And then as you say, and we've been talking about, the defensive backfield for either one of these teams is not the best. They can be beaten
They
through
can
the air.
both. Yeah, they
And
can both have their top one off.
and I'm looking at the outline, and you're completely right. It's which star corner is going to have a better day. Is it going to be Sean Wade or is it going to be Patrick Surtain? So
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting, and it kind of reminds me of the offense, Alabama's offense. Like, who do you trust more, Ohio State's group of linebackers or Dylan Moses? And then who
yeah,
do you trust more, Ohio State's full defensive line or Christian Barrymore, the one guy? Or
yeah.
it's kind of like the defensive back. Their defensive backfields are pretty much the same, basically. Patrick Surtain's a good amount better than Sean Wade, but
Yeah.
it's basically
I
those
also
two.
think I
It's
also think
just those two who are the two good DBs. So, but yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think Patrick Surtain has a lot easier task to cover like Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson than Sean Wade does in having to either cover Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith, which is probably gonna look like he'll be just covering Devontae Smith. But hey, you never know. This could turn into like his Jalen Ramsey game where he just mugs Devontae Smith and Devontae Smith has like only like 3 targets for with 2 catches and like 50 yards. I
There's
mean,
no way. There's
I
no
know,
way.
no, well, I'm talking like okay, but he'll limit him to like 5 catches for 120 yards, like maybe
Yeah.
a touchdown.
No, no,
Like
I
those
hear
kind of
that.
numbers, which wouldn't be, everyone's like, wow, that's like really bad for a corner. But against Devontae Smith, and the numbers he's been putting up, it's not terrible. I mean, he put up what 340 receiving yards against Notre Dame with like 3 touchdowns.
I think 240, not
Yeah,
340. But yeah. No, but the only getting 3 targets is not possible because Mac Jones will throw him the ball if he has two people on him. He does not care.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Devonta Smith, like you said, you can't stop him. I mean, you can't stop
yeah.
him. You can only
Slow
hope
him
to
down.
contain him. Yeah, slow him down. But yeah, I mean, and then I think the coaching edge, it's. I saw another article. I don't know if it was the same time I saw the other article, but it was basically saying that Ryan Day is a young Nick Saban. Basically, it's like, um,
Jeez.
which I honestly like. I'm not a huge Ohio State fan, but I am one. I don't want Nick Saban coaching my team. Like,
No, no.
he's boring. He's old. He's just mean. Get him out
Yeah,
of my face. But yeah. So I think definitely, but the coaching edge has to go to Nick Saban. I mean,
yeah,
he's been in this game what, 5 of the past 7 years, 4 of the past 7 years. So
yeah,
yeah, but and kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, I do think next year will be, at least I hope it will be, a lot more open than this year was. Like, this year it was you. I mean, we talked about it at the beginning. You had your 3 teams, and then Ohio State kind of fell off, and Notre Dame kind of fell off. But now you're back. They're back on and everything. I think next year you could see some teams that you did not expect to be in the top 10, kind of just jumping into the top 10. Like, I think North Carolina has a chance to be really good next year.
yeah. I think Cincinnati, as you said as well, has a really good chance of coming back this year and making. I don't know if they'll make it into the top 4, but
Desmond
it's
Ritter's
still,
coming back.
yeah. But I think you'll definitely see them in the top 10 most of the year.
Yeah, and that's also going to set a huge precedent because let's say Cincinnati goes out and goes undefeated next year, and either they do or they don't make the playoffs. That's so if they do make the playoffs and you do vote them in, that's basically telling every other non-group of 5 team, it's like, yeah, you got to go 2 years straight undefeated,
To
or
get
you're
in.
not getting in.
Yeah.
And if they don't get in, it's just basically, I mean, if they go undefeated again this coming year, and they don't get in, it's just going to become, I mean, the thing we kind of, I mean, it's just going to become the same four teams every year. So, but with that, I don't know if you have your top five for next year early, way too early. Do you have it?
I have my top five.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why don't you go first?
Because I don't know mine yet.
Okay, so at number one, I'm gonna have a very surprising answer here, and I know you're gonna probably hate me for it. I'm gonna
Oregon or
have
USC?
no. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma and
Okay.
the Sooners. My number two position is gonna still be Clemson. I still think DJ Ugalele is gonna be a hell of a player there and be able to kind of help that team in a really kind of, as I said earlier, not super smooth, but a relatively smooth transition. And then I think at number three is going to be the boys out of Chapel Hill and UNC.
Jeez.
I think Sam Howell's gonna. I really hope he turns into a better quarterback and makes better decision
Well, that's the
making.
thing with Sam Howell that was so weird all year. It's like they came into this year, they expected him to throw a ton because he looked good his freshman year,
Mhm.
and he was really good in those games where they were high scoring affairs. But
Yeah,
like, I don't know why Mac Brown would like change. I mean, I guess they do. They did have 2,000-yard rushers, so yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, they
exactly.
definitely do have a chance to be really good next year. I agree.
Yeah. Um, so that's my number three. My number four is going to go to Georgia. I think JT Daniels is shown that he, with one actual full year underneath his belt, that he's going to be really good. And then this one's tough for me. I don't know who could be. I'm gonna have to put I'm gonna have to put Cincinnati at my number five. I just think that team is going to be around talking all going to be making a push for an argument, especially after this year.
All right, I'll go mine backwards because you went yours forward. Number five, I have Georgia as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, JT Daniels coming back. We still got to figure out what happened out in Georgia this summer. I don't know,
Yeah.
some weird stuff going on down there.
Yeah.
At number four, I have Alabama.
Okay.
They're always going to be in the top five every year, no matter what. Number three, I do have Oklahoma as well. They are going to come in with so much hype, and Oklahoma fans are not going to shut up for the next 12 months. It is going to be brutal.
It will be brutal.
And then two, I have Ohio State. They'll lose Fields, but they also have the second ranked recruiting class, and they bring. I mean, and
Yeah, they're
they
bringing
they
Quinn Evers.
no, not this year, next year.
Oh,
Yeah. But
really?
no, the guy who was supposed to, it's either C.J. Stroud, who's from California, or Harry Miller. Um, they're both going to be fine. I mean, it's like what we talk about at the big time programs. I mean, if you're good enough, they'll make you good at big time
Yeah.
programming. So, and then number one, I have Clemson as well. I think they'll vote Clemson ahead of Ohio State because they won't have seen Ohio State's new quarterback play, but they did get to look at DJ
Yeah.
Ugalele, and
Right. Yeah.
and I forgot what my odds were for the Heisman, but it would not surprise me at all if DJ Ugalele makes the Heisman or doesn't win it, but gets the ceremony if they have one next year.
He's one of three quarterbacks that's plus 1,000 right now.
Yeah,
Spencer Rattler's the favorite at plus 400, and Bryce Young is the
plus 600.
yeah.
Yeah, and then he's plus 1,000. Slovis is plus 2,000. Um, Yeah, I know. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, that's my top five for next year. It's hopefully, I mean, you never know, but hopefully, first of all, hopefully we don't do politics in here, but hopefully we're still a country by then. We haven't been overrun by, I don't know, anarchy. If it's
Mhm.
anarchy, I'm totally in for it, though. I would love to be an anarchist. And then we don't know what's going to happen with COVID or anything, but hopefully it doesn't affect it as much as it did college football this year because
Yeah.
this year could have been it already was a really good year. It could have been a great year if we didn't have so many. I mean, it's just it's going to be so weird to look back at this in like 5 years and be like, oh yeah, there was that time that Michigan didn't play Ohio State because of a because of a sickness. They played again. They played during World War II though, but they a sickness. So
Yeah.
I understand it, but it's just how it is. But that's all I got. You got anything?
Yeah, again, I hope that next year is a little bit different, but I still think we're gonna be dealing with COVID, but I hope they put in procedures and things so that way they don't cancel as many games. They're
Yeah.
able to have more games and we have more competitive bowl games next year as well.
Yeah, and that's gonna. I mean, they obviously are gonna have to come in with a contingency plan because I mean, how it did work for Ohio State this year, that's great. But I mean, if Ohio State once again went 5-0 or 6-0,
And
and
made it in again? Oh, yeah.
it would be a bad look for them. So,
Mhm.
but so everyone, make sure you tune on Monday night. We don't know what we're gonna do. We might go live. I don't know. I might go live. We'll see. We'll let you know. But definitely, it's definitely weird that we started 5 months ago, 4 months
Yep.
ago, and now we are at the national championship finally. So, like I said, my pick is 38-34 Ohio State, and Jake said 42-30.
42-3.
34 Ohio State as well. So we're both going with the underdog. I hope so, man. I hope so. But I
Yeah.
just sometimes I think that Alabama team's too damn good. But
Mhm.
that's all I got. Happy New Year, everybody. We will definitely be back at some point this weekend, at least to kind of wrap things up. And then we'll kind of share with you guys our off-season schedule because I'm definitely going to be doing this. I think Jake is too, because I don't want to write about the NBA at all. And
Yeah.
they keep sending me. I even told Randy, I was like, I emailed him. I was like, it's cool. Like if you want me to do NBA, I'll do it when I have time. But even once the football is over in the off season, I want to focus on the draft and college football and recruiting and everything like that. So, but I'm sure I'll have to do some NBA stuff, which I just don't care about. But like I said, everyone have a happy New Year. It's a good year. Jake, you got anything?
No, everyone just still be safe, be careful out there, and look for this game to be really entertaining, in my opinion.
Let's just
I,
hope
I
it.
don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout.
I just hope it's entertaining. I want to see a good football game. I can't do blowouts anymore. But that's it for us. We'll see you next week sometime or this week, whatever you call it. Later.